Boys and girls, in the last video we saw how both the armies celebrated Christmas together in no man's land. They played football match and it was unexpectedly first called out by the Germany soldiers. They came out first showing the white flags and then of course came out the soldiers of the England army. They celebrated, they played a match and then it was time to go back to the trenches. They went back and let us see what happens further in the story. I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into its envelope. I kept awake all night. See, the author, the buyer who has bought that old oak desktop, how could he sleep after reading such a letter? He kept awake whole night and as can be understood, it was very disturbing for him. Further, he says, by morning I knew what I had to do. I drove into Bridport, just a few miles away. I asked a boy walking his dog where Copper Beaches was. House number 12 turned out to be nothing but a burned out shell, the roof gaping, the windows boarded up. I knocked at the house next door and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of Mrs. Macpherson. Oh yes, said the old man in his slippers. He knew her well. A lovely old lady, he told me, a bit muddle-headed, but at her age she was entitled to be, wasn't she? 101 years old. She had been in the house when it caught fire. No one really knew how the fire had started, but it could well have been candles. She used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was too expensive. The fireman had got her out just in time. She was in the nursing home now. He told me Burlington House on the Dorchester Road on the other side of the town. I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. There were paper chains up in the hallway and a lighted Christmas tree stood in the corner with a lopsided angel on top. I said I was a friend come to visit Mrs. Macpherson to bring her a Christmas present. I could see through into the dining room where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. The matron had hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. She even offered me a mince pie. She walked me along the corridor. Mrs. Macpherson is not in with the others. She told me she is rather confused today, so we thought it best if she had a good rest. She has no family, no one visits, so I'm sure she'll be only too pleased to see you. She took me into a conservatory with wicker chairs and potted plants all around and left me. The old lady was sitting in a wheelchair, her hands folded in her lap. She had silver white hair pinned into a wispy bun. She was gazing out at the garden. "Hello," I said. She turned and looked up at me vacantly. "Happy Christmas, Connie," I went on. This was the name by which her husband always wrote to her. Her husband always called her. And now somebody was addressing her Connie after so many years. It was the same day, the Christmas day. So further he says, "I found this. I think it's yours." He hands over the letter and says, "I found this. I think it's yours." As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. I opened the tin box and gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition and her face became suffused with a sudden glow of happiness. I explained about the desk, about how I had found it, but I don't think she was listening. For a while, she said nothing. For a while, she said nothing, but stroked the letter tenderly with her fingertips. Suddenly, she reached out and took my hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. "You told me you had come home by Christmas, dearest," she said. "And here you are, the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer. Jim, dear, sit down." She addressed this boy saying, "Come closer. Jim, dear, sit down." So she remembered her husband now and she made this boy sit closer to her. A lady at the age of 101 years, and still that Christmas is as fresh in her eyes as if it was yesterday. I sat down beside her and she kissed my cheek. "I read your letter so often, Jim, every day. I wanted to hear your voice in my head. It always made me feel you were with me. And now you are. Now you are back. You can read it to me yourself. Would you do that for me, Jim dear? I just want to hear your voice again. I would love that so much. And then perhaps we will have some tea. I made you a nice Christmas cake, marzipan all around. I know how much you love marzipan." So this was the story, and again giving us a picture of what the wars present to us. I hope when your generation takes over, you will make the world war free, a peaceful one. You'll make this beautiful planet still more beautiful to live on.